Good morning, one and all. I'm Praveen Kumar. So, today I solved a real world challenge called race condition in production apps within help of booking system. How I solved this race condition, I will show you. So, let's see what's a race condition is, how to solve that. Okay, race conditions is nothing but when concurrent users exact at millisecond try to book a ticket, what will happen? Either one has to succeed and one has to fail, but what if both are succeeded? So today we are going to see how that can be solved. So this is a classic candy pattern called the read modify write cycle. Consider process of booking a ticket. So there will be mainly three processes: read, modify and write. The application reads the event database from the event currently booked tickets for an event database and modify in the memory itself. When the memory is loaded the database into memory, it will check if the booked seats is less than the total seats, so it decides it's safe to book a ticket and increments the count in memory. And the write phase, I mean, we are saving the updates into the database. So now imagine an event has one seat left. Two users, request A and request B, try to book it at the exact same time. I mean, at millisecond. Request A reads book tickets and value is 29, so the total seats is 30. And simultaneously, request B also reads the same value. So we are checking in memory the modify phase. Both see that 29 is less than 30. So both are proceeding to increment the count to 30 in memory. Request A writes booked seats equal to 30 and request B also writes booked seat equal to 30 into the database. So what happened? We have sold 31 tickets while we are having total tickets as 30. So this is an inventory based system in failure. This is the catastrophic failure in inventory based system. Okay, Django transaction and management tools. So I forgot to mention the tech stack I have used. I have used it as Django and PostgreSQL, and for the infrastructure I have used Docker and Docker Compose. So transaction dot atomic. As you know, asset properties in database. A means atomicity. This is a context manager or decorator that wraps the block of code in a database transaction. As you know, a transaction is a sequence of operations performed as a single logical unit of work. All operation either in the block has to be successfully committed, I mean, or rolled back entirely if an exception arises. This ensures data consistency, but on its own does not solve the race condition. Select for update. This is the key to pessimistic locking. So, in order to avoid these race conditions, we have used two locking strategies. One is pessimistic, and another one is the optimistic locking. One is useful for locking the row, and one is useful for checking the version of the ID. So when you are using select for update, we are saying to the database, find me this row and lock it. Do not let any other transaction modify this row. Modify or lock this row until my current transaction has finished. So whenever request A is trying to book a ticket using this pessimistic locking, if the application is using this pessimistic locking, it will says request A has to lock the row and request B has to wait in the queue until request A has to be finished the booking successfully. So yeah, it is called pessimistic because we assume concurrency conflicts are likely to and lack resource proactively. So coming to the transaction dot on commit, it is a method. It will be helpful in registering a callback function that will be executed if and only if transaction commits successfully. So for example, if we need to send a confirmation mail to the user before saving to the database, if we are using dot on commit. Yeah, for example, sending a confirmation mail. If you send to the mail from inside the atomic block and the transaction later fails and rolls back, but we have just sent an email for a booking that never happened. dot on commit register a callback function that will be only executed if and only if the transaction commits successfully. So as I think you have understood the situation, so not only saving to the database, the transaction has to be completely finished unless we don't want to send an email notification. Coming to the system design and architecture, the test environment, I have created a test concurrency.py file for hitting 50 concurrent requests at the same time. The concurrent request will be sent to the our API endpoint written as a slash API slash events. So the Django REST API, what it will does, it applies the views logic. So view is nothing but our core business logic. So all the code will be wrapped in a transaction.atomic decorator. So first one, we are applying a physical lock on the row events.object select for update and check seat availability. So this is nothing but our checking if whether the booked seats are less than or equal to total seats, and create booking object and update read write read modify write, and finally transaction dot on commit send an email function. So this is how PostgreSQL applies a row lock on database. Okay, that's it. Let's get into the practical demonstration as well as the source code. So this is my infrastructure, nothing but our Docker Compose file. So I have using PostgreSQL image. So I don't need to have Postgres installed on my system. By using this image, it will automatically downloads inside the Docker network. You can also use 15, but Alpine is the smaller version and support things like post psychopg to binary requirements for PhD. Yeah, psychopg to binary will be helpful because it acts like an SQL adapter. Our Python talks in objects, Postgres talks in SQL. So in order to convert all the things, we will be using psychopg to binary. And the environment, you can set it from your .env file and health check test interval. So there are mainly three things: interval, timeout, and retrace. Interval means nothing but each check has to done for 5 seconds, and after one check it has to wait for 5 seconds. Whether it is returning a healthy or unhealthy response, retrace it has to apply 5 times in a row. If all the 5 times has been failed status, the database is marked as unhealthy. So volumes are nothing but physical drives in the Docker because we want to save the data between containers starting and removing. And web is nothing but the container which will be built using our source code. Dot mentions that this container will be using this source code, and the Django command to run the server. So everything that's it. Okay, let's get into the models. So these are the models will be written. These convert into SQL. So event table, because we are writing in Python's Django, Django will convert this into SQL commands. So class event will be converted into create table event like that. So the name of the event total seats. Look here, we are not using an integer field. We are using positive integer field because total seats cannot be a negative value. For example, if any unfortunately if anyone written as negative, it will be helpful in defensive programming. And the version we are setting it into default version as 0. It will be helpful in optimistic locking because it will be checking the versions, not the applying row level locks on the database. And the booking table, so look here, we are using a foreign key on the event because it is in one to many relationships, because an event can have multiple bookings but a booking can have only one event. So that's why we are setting into event on delete equal to models dot cascade. So why I have written this line? Cascade means if event has been deleted by the admin, but the booking also has to be deleted, because if the event is deleted, what's the use of this booking? These are nothing but orphanaged addresses, which can be lead to something like database integrity errors, and the related name equal to booking. So just we can call our booking dot objects dot all. You can get the all the booking details in our views logic. These are nothing but username and the created at date time field. Okay, that's the our database. Okay, the URL patterns will be defined in this way. So whenever the user requests hits this endpoint, how it will be done, and book pessimistic, book optimistic, and we also set the book pessimistic to fail. I will also explain that endpoint also how that works. So this is our business logic written in the views. So you have seen something new. This is called CSRF exempt. Why I have disabled? It will be helpful in disabling CSRF tokens because Django itself applies CSRF tokens to a view if it is contains post request. These are unsafe methods, so we need to use the CSRF exempt method or decorator. So first thing, book vulnerable. We haven't applied any database logging strategy or anything. Just if 30 seats are available, what if we can book all the 32 or the 50? Yeah, okay. If 50 requests hit this endpoint, book vulnerable, it will be booking all the seats. For example, nearly 50 tickets will be booked, but the availability seats are 30 only. So time not sleep is the request has to wait exactly 100 milliseconds. So we are just incrementing total booked seats plus one. Yeah, we are creating the event and event dot save. If all the things will be done, it will be status as success and the status code equal to 201 created. So that's how error handle this also if the event does not exist, returning the JSON response as status 404 not found. So this is our send confirmation mail used in after a successful commit. So coming to the book pessimistic, as you know, it acquires a row level lock on the database. You can see this select for update is a Postgres method useful for applying row level lock. We are checking whether the booked seats is less than total seat. So yeah, we are using a lambda function, nothing but n small anonymous function. It will be helpful for creating a function inside another function. So once the event has been saved, it will be on commit. All the logic has been written in the transaction dot atomic model because if everything is happened successfully, it will be committed, or if any error has been raised, it will be rolled back. So we are testing this book pessimistic fail at here. So yeah, before it returning status code as 201, we are just raising something simulating a critical system error. So what happen if your request has raised an exception? So that's how we don't want to send the confirmation mail that never booked it. And optimistic block, as you know, it checks the version of the row rather than applying a lock. So this is our heart. So it will be converting into a high level SQL like updates. Yeah, we will be using F expression. So just checking and updating. If any updated rows are zero, we'll be just returning 409 conflict error. So we can also implement something like retry logic at here. So that's it. So how 50 concurrent request will work under the hood. So yes, we are just resetting the database to exactly 30 seconds. You can see this migration file. In this defaultly we seed event data as 30 total seeds, and the booklet seeds is 0 and version is 0. Before hitting the database we are just seeding the some data. So we just want to write all these commands. We can use operating system sub process and get the booked database booked seeds, and then running the concurrent test. So 50 requests will be hitting this endpoint. So once we are using threading concept at here, we are hitting every the endpoint. One is vulnerable point. We will be appending this book vulnerable to this URL, and also book pessimistic to the endpoint and everything. Okay, let's first make the container start. Yeah, all the containers has been started. So pessimistic logging will help us to book the tickets exactly how many are there, and optimistic logging will be assuming that conflicts are rare. So it will be used in something like hype driven ticket sales. Yeah, firing 50 requests to the vulnerable endpoint, and the next pessimistic and the optimistic. I have already done this before. Let me show you this details. So the vulnerable endpoint without applying any logging strategies. So the total successful bookings will be done 50, but the total seats are 30 only. Pessimistic logging. So as the successful bookings are 30 and the failed bookings are 20. So the total seats in DB are 30 lakhs. And the optimistic logging. So as you know, conflict failures. So if the 50 requests hit the endpoint at a time, so it say the version, and okay, the first version is 0 and then it updated to 1, and the next request at the exact millisecond it says that okay, I need to update this request to 1 if the version is 0 only, but the version is already changed to 1. So that has been done. Yeah, all the things will be saved into our results.json. So there are not changes in anything. That's why all has been stayed like this. So you can access this project at github.com Sachana Praveen Kumar. A framework and technology architecture. Everything I have been shared here. You can get all the comments. That's it. If you understand the project or you have any doubts, please comment it down. Thank you.